question I want to answer today is, should I get a tattoo? But before I answer that question, I want to ask you a question. Why do you want to get a tattoo? As you think about this question, maybe you've thought about it before. Maybe you have different reasons as to why you want to get a tattoo. But I think a part of it might be the fact that everyone seems to be getting a tattoo these days. And it's something that is trendy. It's fashionable, quote unquote. It's cool, quote unquote, to get a tattoo of anything, whatever it might be. Just tattoos in our culture today are popular. So I am almost certain that if getting a tattoo in our culture today were not trendy, if it were not popular, if a lot of celebrities didn't have tattoos or athletes didn't have tattoos, and you would be looked down upon or you'd be considered weird or an outcast for having a tattoo, I'm almost certain that you may not be considering getting a tattoo. So if we're honest, one reason, maybe there are other reasons, I don't know, but maybe one reason, even if it's just a small part of the reason, is the fact that it's cool today and it's popular. So I guess then the next question is, should I do something or should I want to do something just because everybody else is doing it? Well, obviously the answer to that is no. We want to be unique. We want to be different. We want God to shape and mold us, and we want to represent our own unique identity. We don't want to just do something just because everybody else is doing, just to follow everyone. And I know you've probably heard this before, and for those people who know me personally, you might be shocked to know that at one point in time, I wanted to get a tattoo. In my late teenage years, which was probably just a few years ago, I deliberated getting a tattoo. I just wanted it. I honestly didn't even sit down and ask myself why I wanted a tattoo. I just saw tattoos that looked cute on different people. Granted, I don't think I was gonna get anything huge. It was gonna be something tiny, something small, something girly, but I just thought it would be cool to get one. I'm not really sure what stopped me. Probably the fear that I had of my dad, that if he ever found out that I had a tattoo, I'd be in a lot of trouble. So, and this was in my late teenage years, but I would still be in a lot of trouble with him. So that's probably what stopped me from getting a tattoo at that time. But later on, when I was old enough to make that decision on my own without any fear of a consequence from my parents, I didn't want one anymore. And I think that's one of the things we have to consider when we're asking ourselves the question, when we're deliberating whether or not to get a tattoo, is the fact that we are changing. We are growing. What we like right now might not be what we like 2 years from now, or a year from now, or 6 months from now, because we are changing. Our tastes change, our preferences change. So, and also the fashion changes too. So I think that's something very important to consider in the question, should I get a tattoo? Because a tattoo is something that's permanent. You can't remove that unless you want to do the surgery, which costs a lot of money and is not covered by your health insurance. So you're going to have to pay out of pocket for that. So unless you want to go through that process of getting a tattoo only to remove it 2 years from now, it's probably a decision you don't want to make hastily. You don't want to make just because you feel like it right now in the moment. They say that our brains continue to develop up until about age 25. So who we are, we're being molded in our person, in our personality, our very being is still being shaped and formed. So if you're gonna make major life decisions before that time, it's probably a decision you need to be 100% certain about. Because trust me, when I wanted to get a tattoo at that age, 2 years after that, I was a different person. And it wasn't even something that crossed my mind. I didn't even remember that I wanted a tattoo 2 years before, because it was just so foreign to who I was at that point in time. So I think that's one thing to consider. The fact that you'll be a different person because you're still growing, you're still changing. You haven't yet settled into your identity as a person, as a young lady. You're still growing in Christ. Getting a tattoo, my advice to you is no. I don't think it's something that the scriptures support. And a tattoo is a permanent decision. Jesus himself also taught that, in anything that we decide to do, we should sit down and count the cost. We should consider, what is this going to cost me? Is this something that I'm going to regret? Is this something that I can afford to do? And if you consider the fact that you're changing as an individual, is this something you really want to do? Just out of an impulse, just out of a whim, just because you think it's cool. And for me, just because I thought it would be cute to get a particular tattoo. So my advice is no, just skip on the tattoo. Be unique. Don't follow the crowd. You don't have to follow the trends that everybody is getting into right now. Be unique. Be your own person in Christ. And if nothing I've said convinced you, at least give it some more thought and give it some more time, because this is not something that you can easily change.